ES Audio. From the Evening Standard in London, I'm Rachel Abbott and this is The Leader. Today we're giving you some bonus content taken from our business show, How to Be a CEO. An opportunity to hear from the most powerful people behind some of the world's biggest brands. This is a cut-down version of the full episode. To hear the full thing, hit the link in the show notes. Find a new episode of How to Be a CEO every Monday morning, and why not give it a rate and follow whilst you're there? Now, let's begin.
I appreciate that beginning a business podcast up a mountain with some cows is an unusual start, but then some CEOs have unusual starts.
My first job was, I was 10. I looked after 30 cows. I had to pick them up at 7 o'clock in the morning, making sure they eat, bring them back in the evening at 7 o'clock. So that was my first job. I can't remember having then a thought about running a big insurance company. So no.
So where was this? Was a farm back in Switzerland?
So I grew up in Switzerland,
Yeah.
in a very remote location in the Swiss Alps. It sounds very romantic, but it's basically just at the end of the world. Very small village. You have cows, skiing, and mountains.
Claudio Gienal is CEO of AXA UK and Ireland, heading up around 10,000 staff and working with 645,000 businesses. It's a lot of responsibility, but so's looking after your village's cowherds when you're 10.
There's one thing I definitely learned there. You have to own your stuff. There's no way you could come home and say, like, I only have 28 cows. It's just a no-go. And if that means you have to go up for 2 hours up the mountain to get the cow, you do it. No questions asked. And the other one is that you have to bring the same cows back. Yeah, that's the other thing.
I'm David Marsden from the Evening Standard, and we're meeting Claudio in AXA's HQ in London, a far cry from the Swiss Alps. But the lessons learned there stay with you.
These kind of things do for me, don't they? Because I know that's part of the thing that stays with me. I have little patience for excuses. Because I always think, like, I couldn't find an excuse when I was 10 for lost cows, so don't come to me and explain why everything is complicated.
This is How to Be a CEO. Claudio, here we are sitting in AXA's headquarters in London, but I mean, in your career, getting to this point, you've been a startup yourself, haven't you? You've been down there with the small companies, trying to work your way up.
Yeah, I did during my garden leave. I helped some of my friends to create a startup. So I've been there watching and helping. Yeah, when a new business is born, and it's an interesting process, but challenging, but very rewarding when you get there.
Can you tell me a little bit about that startup itself before we get into some other areas?
Yeah, so basically it's a Swiss-based startup. It's a digital platform that connects insurers and real estate organizations with the suppliers. That's what it does do, and with the customers. I started very small in Switzerland. Now they try to expand into Germany and the UK. It's a fabulous small business. The team is doing a wonderful job. But again, they have very different challenges than what we have. At AXA.
Yeah, I can imagine, but it must be incredibly exciting to set something up and watch it grow. I mean, I guess that's one of the hooks for actually starting your own business, isn't it? That's what makes things exciting.
Yeah, it's extremely rewarding. It's also stressful sometimes, when you look for cash or money, but it's very rewarding when you see all the things coming to fruition that you planned and discussed with your friends and colleagues.
But I'd imagine there must be a lot of people considering starting a business, even post-pandemic as we are now, and all the things that we've gone through. What kind of barriers are there, or what do people perceive the barriers to be? Because I know that AXA did a report looking at this area. What are people concerned about?
What we have seen is that 50% of the people we talk to, they admire the small business and they would like to do it. I think the two things probably they are most concerned about, one is the stress level that this brings with it, and then obviously also the insecurity about the financial outcome, because there again, it's not, you don't have a job where you get your salary every day. So the main reason though is really the amount of work and the risk that you have to take on it, and the courage to do that.
Yeah, I mean, those first few months can be quite scary, can't they?
Oh, they are. There's always a lag at the beginning between what you have to put in terms of work and resources, and until you have the first customers and clients sending you some money. And I think most of the ones I do know, they underestimate that time lag. So there's a moment of stress that comes with it, but then the more satisfactory it is when you see the invoices coming in and seeing that what you do makes sense.
We are in this post-pandemic era now. Is it scarier for small businesses, and is there help for them?
So it's interesting. I think more than 75% of the business we talked to said that they are still very happy that this has been the best decision ever in their life. So even after the pandemic, I do think there's a lot of positive things to be said about the small businesses that are ultimately also the backbone for our whole economy here in the UK. And interestingly, if you talk to them, more than 60% have a very upbeat, positive outlook in terms of what is coming their way, in terms of new customer needs, technology that helps them. And if you look at what has happened, I mean, they have been so resilient the last 2 years, the small businesses, and agile, and just found new ways to do things. So I think they absolutely have the right to be positive about what was coming, given where that they made it through the last 2 years.
Did you have to change things? Did you have to change course, change direction to get through the pandemic?
We needed some adaptations as every big business here in the UK, especially as we had to ask everyone to work from home, as we were not essential workers in that sense. Yeah, only a few are and couldn't do the work from the office. So yes, we went through big adaptations, every big business or every business here in the UK. And now we are trying to find the rhythm to come back into the new normal as everyone else.
Mentors, advice, that's the sort of thing that people need really as they're rising up, whether they're creating their own company or just or charting their own career. It's that kind of advice, and being able to get access to that is really important, isn't it?
Yes, for me it's probably the most important thing to have experienced people who I can talk to, but without any filter, that I can just say what I think and get proper feedback. And sometimes you also have to ask for help. That's one thing. I never waited for them to mentor me. I just asked them. And the good thing is, every time I have asked, everyone said yes so far. And I think it's true for most senior people. If they ask to mentor someone, they would say yes, because there's always something good for yourself. You learn new things from the first person you mentor. So absolutely essential. Ideally, you can avoid some mistakes they made.
Yes.
But also it gives you some comfort that you are not alone with these questions you do have along your professional career.
Yeah. Hey, mistakes are all part of it, aren't they? That's how we get to where we...
Well, yeah, but probably mistakes is the only way to really learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because from successes, you don't really learn a lot. But if you handle failures and properly, it's a big learning. It's the best learning you can have. And I always say it's good to have some scars on your back from your mistakes, because that means you have tried things out, you had the courage to go through it and then learn from it.
Cliche question, but what's the best bit of advice you've been given?
Best advice? Probably I have to split that question into two. One is from my parents. It's more life advice than professional advice, but that's was always be humble and treat everyone with respect. As simple as that.
Yeah.
That's what they would always ask me to do. And my father still reminds me, especially now, that's independent where my job is, that still counts, and he's right. Professionally, it's probably, I had a very good Irish mentor, and he basically said two things. He said, look, Claudio, once you are put in charge for something, take charge. You take your responsibility. Don't find excuses, just take it. And secondly, do the right thing. And you know what the right thing is, but typically it's not the easy one. So make sure you do the right thing, even if it's much harder. And if you do these two things, you will be fine. And he's right. It's taking responsibility for what I do. I think that's important for every one of us. And then doing the right thing. And every one of us knows what that means. We just don't want to do it because sometimes it is much harder than finding a way around things or doing the easy thing. So that's probably the thing that has stuck with me since I heard it quite some time ago.
That was Claudio Gienal, CEO of AXA UK and Ireland. For all the best business coverage, head to standard.co.uk/business. And there's a new episode of the How to Be a CEO podcast released first thing every Monday morning. Hit your follow button and never miss a show.